Good evening and welcome to Sim Racing Online. My name is Neil Wood and we'll be taking you through the Formula 79 Championship, 6-round championship with Assetto Corsa. We've had 3 rounds so far, Black Cat County, Tullen, Lengen, Lambarne, Lake Garnet, and now we're at Mont-Tremblant, or known as Saint-Jovite in Canada, Quebec, Canada. This championship runs every 2 weeks, so we'll be at Mont-Tremblant today. In 2 weeks' time we'll be at Le Mans Bugatti, the 1967 layout, and then a little bit of a break for the last round at Zolder 1967 on the 12th of June. So we're going to be using the Formula 79 car, which is basically a carbon copy of the Lotus 79, a car kind of instrumental bringing in the ground effect era, and as you see, quite a powerful car, 5-speed, and 5-speed V8. Got 26 races, 6 wins. Not too bad, not too bad. 475 horsepower. It's a bit of a screamer, so you can hear the cars already out on track as we have the drivers already practicing. So as I said, we are at Mont-Tremblant today, sometimes known as Saint-Jovite. It's based in Quebec, Canada, and it opened 60 years ago. Now, a fun fact about this track is it around 1968 and 1970 it actually held the Formula 1 races, and 1970 was the last time it actually hosted a Formula 1 race, and the races then moved on to motorsport. But other races subsequent years were Can-Am, Trans Am, even the USAC Championship Car Series came here, and in the 2000s the Champ Car World Series made a few trips to Canada. So it's quite a popular track, it's quite a scenic track. It's quite a scenic track indeed. It's got lots of hills and bumps. I've had a little bit of a go around it myself. So let's take you round an onboard lap. Through paddock band to start the lap. Over the finish line and straight into the first bend. Down the dip, slight lift and down a gear, then back on the throttle. Change down to second gear for the first part of the S's. Short burst and quickly into the left. Fully on the throttle for the smooth left up to 5th gear. Down 2 gears and over the slight crest on the right hander. Brake hard and down to second. Patient on the throttle and up the hill. Full speed over the blind crest up to 5th gear. Stay tight to the left, use all the track on the exit. Back over to the left for hard braking down 2 gears, avoid the curb on the apex. Short burst, down 1 gear for the left hander called the gulch. Accelerate up the hill for the bridge turn. Careful on the throttle, down the hill again through the kink. Down to 1st gear, stay tight to the apex for name row. Accelerate hard on exit, through paddock bend and across the line. Well, I hope that gave you a good idea of what this circuit is all about and what kind of challenge that the drivers have got tonight. So we are set for 60 minutes of racing, and we're just about to go into 15 minutes of quali, which will be in about 20 minutes time. But first of all, let's have a look at the championship so far. So as I said, we've done 3 rounds so far, and this is the way the championship looks. So Kirillov sits at the top of the table with 60 points. Now Kirillov has been able to finish on top for rounds 2 and 3. So 2 wins for Kirillov, which puts him at the top. The most consistent driver at the moment. And seems to have got a handle on this car. In second, we've got Laurent Lons for Gear, or Gear, for 56 points. So not far behind. The points, I think it's 25 for win, 18 for second, 15 for third. All the way down to 1 point for 10th place. And then we have, in third place, Michael Masaryk with 46 points. As I say, Lons has won. He won the first round and has finished third in rounds 2 and 3. But Michael Masaryk in third has finished second for the last 2 rounds. So these 3 drivers are kind of a cut above everybody else at the moment. They just seem to be have a lot more pace. Another mention is Maddie Shepherd in fourth. Had a couple of bad luck rounds, unfortunately, which has knocked her down the order. Now in fourth place in the championship with 29 points. Started off great in the first round, got second place, but with rounds 2 and 3, not coming away with very many points at all. So in the last 3 rounds, she has to score big in order to move up the championship. And then we have Phil Brown on not far behind in 5th place with 25 points. Now Phil Brown started off the season in the series with a 3rd place. He took part in round 2, but unfortunately wasn't here for round 3, which has dropped him down the order a little. So, why don't we get out on track and see what drivers we have, and we'll see what kind of pace they are running. So let's have a look who we have. In fact, we could possibly look at Phil Brown straight away. Let's have a look. Okay. Right. Let's take... That's the fella. Right. Remember my controls. So, we're out on track. This is Phil Brown. So you see the faster drivers are currently putting in 123 at the moment. It was 124 in practice, but people have found a lot more pace. And this track is very similar to the last track we were at, which was Lake Garnet. And we are using the 1969 layout. The layout that was used in the Grand Prix, or the Formula 1 Grand Prix. So the sound does echo off the walls around turn 1. And a lot of the corners are banked, as you can see through the S's here. So Laurent Lons coming through the S's part of the track. Full speed section up here. Now, as with Lake Garnet, there's a lot of blind crests, but with this car in general, because it does have ground effect, you can go faster than you think you can. Now, the laps that I was doing, I don't think I ever got anywhere near... Whoa! A bit of oversteer there on the grass. I don't think I ever got near a 124. But there's many sections on this track which are flat out. This is Paul Upham just coming through the final corner. Now, I think drivers have got to be very, very careful. I did speak to some of the drivers after the round last 2 weeks ago, because I was a bit concerned about whether, what was happening with their pit strategy, really, because some drivers were pitting, some weren't. Now, it does seem that some drivers have felt that they can hang on to the tyres and put in not a slower lap time, but a lap time that saves the tyres a bit. And so it normally is just a one stop race. Maddie Shepherd coming through turn 1, which is a slight lift as you come over the hill, and then you bury your throttle coming down into turns 2 and 3. To hit the grass on the outside. Now, the curbs on this track as well can be quite lethal. You don't really want to unsettle this car. You want it flat onto the tarmac. other thing about this track is the Armco is quite near. So if you're going to have an accident, you're going to hit something hard very, very quickly. And you want to keep your wheels off of this this dirt because it is very, very slippy. Now, one of my favourite parts of the track, which is actually coming up. So this flat out section is probably going to be one of the passing places. So coming into what I think is sector 3. So they brake hard down here, cut down a couple of gears, slight crest, and you've got to keep it tight in this section here, and then they suddenly go up the hill. You've got to keep it really tidy around there. So one of my favourite parts of the track mixed in with one of my non-favourite parts of the track, which is Name Row, which is the final corner. So what's saying about the pit entry? The pit entry leads straight into the pit straight. So you have to be really decisive whether you're actually going for the pits or not. So this is Tony Talviti, the 8th in the championship. So unfortunately, sometimes work schedule interferes with racing. So he's been able to take part in rounds 1 and 2, but he wasn't here for round 3, so he's got a little bit of catching up to do. So he's in, I believe it's a Patrick Tambay livery, blue and white, matching his nationality, a Finnish driver. So this is Lons, one of our championship contenders, second in the championship. And the Warsteiner livery, the Arrows livery. So I believe unfortunately there is a couple of drivers that are running the same skin, which is going to make it very hard for me to tell them apart. It's just coming to the end of the lap. Currently 5th on the practice times at the moment. But still in the 123s. So the top 5 are covered by half a second. So it's very, very quick. Very quick indeed. We see Michael Masaryk just coming out of the pits. I believe he's following one of our newer drivers, so this is where it's going to get a little confusing. So Mitchell Kokotsky, one of our newer drivers to the series. This will be his first round tonight. So a German driver. So we're going to get some points on the board. Now looking at it, we do have about 10 drivers, so that means that everyone is going to score. There's Jari Lakkinen in the ATS livery, very striking red, yellow and black. Slightly widen that turn, but saved by the Armco. It's a very fast and flowing track. I don't think I went below second gear for any of the turns. At least maybe the last turn I went down to first, but you really have to be brave over some of these crests. But there's a couple of flat out sections which I possibly see some drivers going side by side, but you've got to be very brave, and I think you've got to trust your competitor going side by side through some of the faster sweepers. Now it does look like maybe some people are running a bit slightly lower downforce, because I could go flat out through over that crest, but it looks like a lot of people are getting a little bit loose, so they're trying out some lower downforce setups. And it looks like Phil Brown has nipped to the top, the 123.4. And as I say, Phil Brown, I did start off the season with a 3rd place, and second round was 5th, but he wasn't here for the 3rd. I'm just trying to remember. Looks like maybe it's Kokotsky. Oh, you don't want to rejoin in front. I seem to remember there being a Martini skin last time out, but maybe I'm misremembering things because he wasn't on the board. I'll have to double check that. So coming through this gulch and then up to the bridge turn, aptly named. Very a bit off camber. And you go through the dip and you don't want to brake too late. So Phil Brown is really banging down those gears as he comes into the pits. I can imagine the engine's going to thank him for that kind of gear shifting, but so I'm just going to double check whether I don't think Phil Brown was around last time. And maybe mixing it up with another driver that was running a similar skin last time out. It says he was there, but he didn't score. So that's So he was present, but he wasn't on the scoreboard. I'll have to adjust that for later on. So Kirilov just doing some clutch starts. It looks like. Tony Talviti is now hooked into the 123.7 range. So it looks like it's going to be very quick at the top. So, and now Masaryk has hit the top with a 122.9. Now it always surprises me. I always think that people are working on their qualifying setups in practice, but they always surprise me because whenever they're doing their practice times and then suddenly it gets to qualifying, they go a second quicker. So this could be race pace of 122 to 123. Tony Talviti just come into the end of the lap, so it looks like he's sharing a skin with newer driver Kokotsky. As he comes over the line, missing out on improving his time by 0.2 of a second, but still a very, very quick time. Still a very quick time indeed. So as I say, Masaryk now top of the timesheets. Masaryk is currently third in the championship. Very consistent. A bit of a nightmare in the first round at Black Cat County. He was only able to pick up 1 point. I believe he was near the top of the field, but had some coming togethers with other drivers or a couple of spins. But for the last 2 rounds, he's been second. So it looks like people are practicing out their overtaking lines here. Whether or not drivers are going to be able to stay behind each other through the faster sections of the track, we'll have to see. So it looks like Michael Masaryk is currently following Andy Shepherd through these fast turns. So a flat out section here. So not even a hint of a downshift there. Slight lift and then a couple of downshifts. You've got to be very careful with going wide, because if you went wide there, it would take you straight into the end of the arcade. Now it does look like Michael Masaryk is running a very low downforce setup. Either that or the draft is very effective, so it looks like that particular place is going to be good for overtaking. So that's going to be up the hump straight, if you want to call it that. So coming to the end of the line. He does has had traffic this lap. Let's see if I can pick the driver in front, Philip Pitchler. Now Philip Pitchler has scored every round so far. He's currently got 20 points in the championship. He's actually level with John van der Geest, 6th in the championship, running what I think is the if I remember rightly, is it the wolf livery? It's got a lion on the front of it. I can never remember the exact team it's trying to mimic, but it's got a lion on the front, from what I remember. So he's got Maddie Shepherd right up his rear end, so it does look like you can follow. There's only going to be maybe a couple of places to pass, but it might just be whoever makes the least mistakes. Going into the golf section, Pitchler just gets a little bit loose there. Decides to go for another practice lap. There's Lons just on an out lap. So we've got about 4 minutes until qualifying. Time to beat at the moment, still in practice, is a 1:22.5. It's only Masaryk that's been able to get into the 1:22s. So I would suppose that maybe he's running a lower downforce setup. It's about 7/10 clear of Phil Brown in second. Now this is Paul Upham. I believe he's in the McLaren livery. I always get mixed up. There's a couple of liveries which look similar. Paul Upham is in the McLaren one though. I think Kirillov is in the Alfa Romeo. And they are very, very similar. So Paul Upham is currently looking down the list, 10th in the championship. He has a very bad lap in the first 2 rounds. He scored the most points he has all season, last round at Lake Gartnet. Now, surprisingly, he finished 6th, but he was last on the first lap. So a major fight back by Paul Upham, who was able to get back to 6th place. So this is Kirillov running a very similar livery. In fact, maybe I've got that the other way around. Maybe Kirillov is in the McLaren and Paul Upham's in the Alfa Romeo. They just look so similar. So Kirillov, 2 wins last time out. First round he managed to get a 6th place, but 2 wins after that. So this is our newcomer for this round here, Mitchell Kokotsky. It's only 1.5 away. In fact, that's 1.5 away from his nearest rival, so there's a little bit of pace to find. But these, I do look at these cars as being very, very like confidence cars. You really need to trust the downforce. Now, when I did my lap for the onboard lap, it was just a case of hanging on. I didn't generally push too much. Just wanted a consistent lap. So the only things I really failed is the washing wide on some of the turns. They seem to be maybe a little bit off camber. So just got notification from admin that 1 minute till quali. The drivers are going to sort all of the fuel out, and away then we'll go. Right, so let's wait for quali. So we're waiting in the pits for our first drivers out. So as I say, this is going to be a 15-minute quali session. And then it'll be 60 minutes of racing. So we're just rolling over to qualification. I'll have to see who is the first one that's going to go out. Who is it going to be? Michael Masaryk is the first out, wants a clean track, so we'll follow Michael on his out lap. I believe that's Kirillov not far behind, so I think everyone's gone out quite close together, or at least maybe they're grabbing some space, at least a second buffer there. So the time to beat was a 1:22 by this man here. So whether or not he can match that time or even surpass it, so we're maybe looking for a 1:21 in qualification. So now the fuel has come out. So bear in mind that the rules of sim racing online are that you aren't allowed to escape from the track part way round. If you do escape from the track part way round, it means your qualification is over. Taking a wide entry to the last turn now. But it does say in the rules that if you have an incident with a competitor, you are allowed to restart your lap. So through turn 1, down the hill, let's quickly catch in some of the other drivers that came out the pits a bit later. Up the flat out section. We're going to come up to this right hander. I didn't hear a downshift last time, so quite a major lift, and he's staying in 5th gear. As we see Matty Shepherd get out of the way on the right hand side. 3rd gear for Ryan Hander. Up another flat out section on one of the fastest parts of the circuit. It's a little bit of air and down into this sector 3. Behind the curve on the right. Don't know whether that car's going to hinder him at all. Into bridge turn. He's able to move out of the way in time. I don't know if that slowed it down. Making hard. Slight lock of the tyres. Does keep it tight this time. Accelerates over the line. So that's a 1:23.0. That's a quite good benchmark time. As he spins directly afterwards, that's not good. So here's one of our championship contenders, Lons, second in the championship at the moment. So it's Masaryk at the top, Kirillov second, Lons is in 3rd. Brown 4th, Upham in 5th. Those are people that have put in competitive times so far. Phil Brown knocks up into 5th place. This is our newcomer Kokotsky. Hasn't put a representative time in yet. Getting a little faster as the session goes on. 11 minutes to go. Into bridge turn. Seems to be suffering through this final section. I think in general, if you're new to the car, probably put a bit more downforce on so it doesn't scare you. Looks like he's having a lot of trouble getting the power down. Currently goes 9th. So Matty Shepherd currently in 5th on a 1:23.8. So within the bounds of pole here. He was there or thereabout. Matty Shepherd has currently got 2 fastest lap in the races so far. The poles have been shared between Kirillov with 2 and Lons with 1. Matty Shepherd coming over the crest. It's only 500ths away from Taubiti in front. For the final 2 turns, bridge turn, keeping it tidy. The final turn. Slightly untidy on the way in, but will that compromise the exit and into the time? Let's see if it improves. Andy Shepherd up to 3rd place with a 1:23.2, so the times are very, very close. Kirillov was the car just behind, so Kirillov currently only 0.1 of a second behind our pole sitter at the moment, our provisional pole sitter. So I wonder where that 1:22 has gone. I didn't expect the drivers would begin to the 1:22s. Coming through this flat out section up to what is just spoon curve, and then up to this flat out section over the hump. It's literally called the hump. So this is going to be one of our parting places tonight. So he's only got to find 1/10 of a second. Slight bit of traffic ahead. This looks like it might be Maddie Shepherd. He gets a bit eager on the throttle. So that's that lap gone. I'm not sure if that is John van der Geest. So John van der Geest is sharing a skin with Lons, just to make things extra confusing. So currently in 10th place. He's got a little bit of time to find he's got 1 second up to 9th place there. So again, running a very, very loose setup. He's got some air over the top of the hill there, and the car nearly got away from him. So I just ran the car on default settings, which probably was a very high downforce setup. So you probably get the car to stick through the twisty sections, but the only passing place on the track coming up here, or one of the only places, you need the downforce off the car. Down to the final section of the lap, through the gulch, and up to Bridgetown again. Keeps it tight on the apex. Up to the final turn, up through the dip, and up to what we call Name Row. Keeps it tight. He's trying to get on the power, but the rear wouldn't let him, so over the line. So that's an improvement in time, but not an improvement in the position. So I think John's probably saying, well, that's as fast as I can go for the moment. I'll wait for the race. So this is Kimi Martikainen in what is the Renault livery. Banging down the gears quite early. And again, probably not going to do the engine too much good. These cars are based on the 1979, or the Lotus 79, so there is no traction control, no aids of any sort, no gear shift protection. They are really bare bones. Very, very quick cars. So Martikainen has got the 11th in the championship, and looking at results, he finished 7th in the first round, and unfortunately finished outside the top 10 in the last round. Or in fact, round 2. I'm not sure he was here for round 3 though. I'll have to check the point scores again. So in fact, Mazurek has put in a 1:22.5, matching his practice time. So he is the man to beat at the moment. But whether or not he can keep that pace in the race and put away from the rest of the field. The pit lane isn't really that long, so the amount of time lost in the pits for a pit stop is not going to be very long at all. The final turn. Start another lap. This is Paul Upham. Looks like he's just recovering from a spin there. He just outbraked himself in that final section. So Paul Upham currently in 7th place. He was only on an out lap, so no harm done. In 7th place. It's extra confusing that it says number 12 on the track map, but he is in 7th place. Turn 1 over the hill. Moves it into the S's, trying to avoid the curb on the left. Accelerate hard down this flat out section. 4th gear, 5th gear. So Paul Upham does a downshift on that turn. So running slightly different gears. There's Lackinen just getting out of the way. So not shifting down a second. A wheel spin out of that turn. You need to get a good exit coming down here. So we've got just under 3 minutes to go in qualification. So a lot of speed carried into that turn there. Probably would have needed to downshift a little bit earlier there. In fact, he is on an out lap, so across the line to start another lap. So with just over 2 minutes to go, it's Masaryk still in the lead. Maddie Shepherd only 800ths behind, so Maddie Shepherd has managed to find a 1:22. It's a stunningly fast time, so this track seems to be matching her style of driving. As I say, Maddie Shepherd has had a couple of scrappy rounds these last 2 rounds. Very, very strong in the first round, but it seems the last 2 rounds haven't suited her driving style. So we've had a number of circuits which have been completely different types. So the first round was very much like this, very sweeping turns. She runs a little bit wide, so that's not going to be a fast lap. With only 1 minute to go, she has one final try. So Phil Brown has to find 4/10. As I say, Black Cat County, the first round was kind of like this circuit. Sweeping turns and blind crests. The next round was a flat airfield. So drastically different. All the turns were right angles. Well, most of them anyway. And very solid hay bales surrounding the circuit, so there wasn't any room for error. So I felt very, very claustrophobic. So I don't know if Phil Brown's going to get a lap after this. Goes slightly wide. And through Gulch turn. There's a car right in front. Staying out the way. Oof, only just. Turn, slight lock up, but still was able to make the apex. So with 10 seconds to go, looks like Phil Brown is just going to get one more lap. So only 600ths away from 4th. So looking at the map, who are the last ones on the circuit? Looks like Phil Brown is going to be the last one to set a lap. reset our software so we can see maybe the times properly. So that's Pichler coming to a stop. Sounds like not a lot of fuel left in there. So Tony Talviti is one of the last ones to set a lap. He's flying 0.3 of a second to get the 5th. In fact, he will be the last one to set a lap. Let's see if he's able to improve. So across the line he comes. Stays in 6th place. Well, there we go. So Masaryk is on pole, Shepard 2nd, Kirillov 3rd, Lons in 4th, Brown in 5th, Talviti in 6th, Upham 7th, Martikainen in 8th, Pichler in 9th, Lackinen in 10th, newcomer Kokotsky in 11th, and John van der Geest in 12th. So, we are set for 60 minutes of racing around Mont-Tremblant circuit. We're just going to wait for the admin to roll over. And we should hopefully be able to move our UI a bit so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to move that over there a little. There we go. Good stuff. Right, okay, so 60 minutes of racing. There is no mandatory pit stop. So we're just going to have to find out what everyone's strategy is going to be. Whether they can keep up the pace of 122s. There were 3 cars in the 122 range in qualification, which is the top 3. So let's hope there are no accidents. So we're just waiting for the countdown, and then we will situate ourselves correctly. It is a standing start, not a formation lap. And then I will need to get myself off the grid pretty quickly, and then the race can begin. So we're just waiting for the countdown. Now let's believe, obviously this is the 1969 version of the track. At some point in the 2000s it was bought by a person called, well, a familiar person to maybe some that watch Formula 1, called Lawrence Stroll. So that's another link to Formula 1. Okay. Right, so we've been given the countdown. Let's see if I can situate myself on the track so we won't miss an awful lot. There we go. Right, okay. So, 60 minutes of racing. This is going to be tough around here. Very, very tough. Can the top 3 streak away from the field? There we go, red lights on. And away we go. Bunching up into turn 1. I think everyone gets away cleanly. It's Masaryk out into the lead, with Matty Shepard following far behind Lons in 3rd. Matty having to fend through into that SS, but everyone is away clean. There's a bit of a gap leading back. I think maybe someone had a little bit of a slip up here. It looks like everyone has got away cleanly. So Masaryk has streaked out into the lead. Shepard is following very, very close behind. How aggressive do the drivers want to go in this the beginning of this 60 minutes. And we'll have to see. And this big long straight will give us a good idea of downforce levels. So Masaryk, Maddie Shepherd in second, Lons in third, Kirillov in fourth, Phil Brown on the back of this pack in fifth. This is Kirillov chasing Lons. So championship leader Kirillov probably doesn't need to take too many risks. You see the leaders come into the final turn. Lons goes slightly wide. Kirillov probably got an opportunity through these first couple of corners, but probably not a good place to pass. So the top 5 has strung out a little bit. Top 6 in fact. So Masaryk still leads, Shepherd following very, very close behind. This is going to be a frantic 60 minutes of racing. So Masaryk not having to use a defensive line just yet. A defensive line. Slight look from Shepherd coming into this right-hander. Now how close can she get under the rear wing of Masaryk coming down this short straight? Not quite close enough. So the top 4 seem to be putting a little bit of a gap on the rest of them. Kirillov at the latter half of this gap. It looks like he's got a lot more pace than Lons. So coming through the final turn, a lot more pace. He's able to brake a lot later into that final turn. As you see, some brakes locking behind. Tanya Talviti is trying to hang on to Phil Brown in 5th. I believe that looked like Maddie Shepherd. Was that a stop and go? Was that a penalty coming into the pits? So again, bad luck has struck Maddie Shepherd. And the reason I can think of that might be a false start, perhaps. Too eager on the throttle. So Talviti chases Phil Brown. And Kirillov now in 3rd place, chasing Lons in 2nd. So now there's a little gap for them from the lead. So Masaryk, Lons, Kirillov. Phil Brown is hanging on to the coattails of Kirillov in 4th. Maddie Shepherd with that stop and go penalty has dropped down to 6th place. Now it is, I assume it was a stop and go because she hasn't lost an awful lot of time. Could mean that she had perhaps accidentally left quali fuel in. So back to 6th place, a bit of a gap. Pichler is on his own in 7th. And then we have Lackinen in 8th, across the line. And then Kokotsky in 9th. So Kimi Martikainen has dropped back. So maybe that was one of the casualties from the start of the race. And in fact there's Paul Upham back in 11th as well, so Paul Upham has fallen back quite considerably, so maybe there was a coming together between drivers. Maybe it looks like his car might be a little bit damaged. It looks like it's suffering a little. We do have our first DNF, which is John van der Gees. Fortunately bringing it to a halt. As Masaryk still leads from Lons. The gap is just under 2 seconds. So we basically flipped the championship order. Okay, have we had a race restart? Okay, bear with me. I'm not sure if there's a... I've just had the race restarted, so I don't know whether there was a problem. There may have been a problem with the server, so bear with me. So the race settings were correct, it looks like. It looks like our admin may have restarted the server. So bear with us a second. I think we may get going in a second. It might mean that there is a restart of the race. Okay, so we're going for another try, it seems. Another try. So it seems like we may be doing a formation lap this time around. And then at the last corner we are going to go green. So all drivers have to get back to their starting positions. So this will be a bit of a different start this time. Everyone has to be very wary that there is a car on the grid. So bear with us a second. Everyone's just forming up. So not long now. Let's hope everyone remembers that we're not going green this time. We're going for a formation lap. So we've not had a formation lap this so far. So this will be a little bit different. Okay, as Mazurek leads the field away. It's the second time of asking. We're going for a third time. So I'm just waiting for the admin to go through the checks. So we'll continue with the race countdown. Okay, third time lucky, hopefully. Third time lucky. This obviously gives some of the drivers that had a problem at the start of the race to now be able to get a rerun, basically, because we're going back to quali positions. So everyone's got to sort themselves out. Everyone's got to sort themselves out before the green flag, and then we will go green in the last corner. So it may spread the field out a little. Okay. So, Michael Masaryk is going to take the field around the first lap. This should hopefully give everyone an opportunity to get in position. I'm not sure why Michael Masaryk is streaking away from the field here. Formation lap should be forming up for the last turn. So I'm not quite sure why the two leaders have decided to... they now remembered, and they're now going to slow down a bit. The rest of the field has to catch up. So I don't know if there's going to be a trip to the stewards for that. Everyone is spread out. But third time lucky, here we go. So, the clock has been reset. It is 60 minutes. So, it'll be Masaryk leaving the field away, Manny Shepard second and Lons in third. We are go! So, through turn one we go. Masaryk, Shepard, Lons, and Kirillov in fourth. Looks like everyone's got clean away. No particular accidents. Martikainen going through the S's. So it looks like the field has pretty much got through okay. That's Paul Upham following Tauriti in 8th. Kokotsi at the back, very, very close to Lackinen coming up this straight here. So this could be a passing opportunity for 10th place. Side by side up to, not quite. They both run themselves wide, but no harm done. So, end of lap 1. It's Masaryk in lead. Slight look up behind from Shepard. So Masaryk leads the field. Upham looks like he's trying to pass Tauriti for 7th place. Very, very close through those first couple of turns. Tauriti looking up in front. This might give Paul Upham a ample opportunity up the short straight. So that's Tauriti ahead. Now Tauriti is closing on that car in front of Martikainen. Upham running out of downforce and colliding with the barrier. He drops back down to what would be 9th place. Matty Shepard is right on Masaryk's tail. Hopefully there's no problems with drive-through, so a slight look up the inside coming into the gulch turn. Doesn't look like that put off Masaryk at all. Up top of the hill for the bridge turn and into the final corner. That will be name row. So 0.2 of a second. Slight lock up from Matty Shepard, which means that Masaryk's able to get away through for another lap. We drop to the next gap, which is Kirillov back in 4th. Lons are now spaced out. And then Phil Brown in 5th. Looks like Talviti has got past Martikainen. So Talviti now up to 6th place and on the chase for Phil Brown. He's got a little bit of a gap up to Phil Brown, about 3 seconds. Let's see if he can catch. So back to the front. Masaryk in first, Shepherd in second, close behind. First and second have pulled out a little bit of a gap. Maybe the formation lap favouring the leaders a little more than a standing start does. So into the final turn. A few lockups coming through the final couple of corners. Turn 1, there's a slight gap of 0.5 of a second, but not dropping Shepherd at all. So again, we look back at the back of the field with the battle between Lackinen and Kokotsky rather. Seems to be raging. As we see, Lackinen unfortunately have a little bit of a wide moment. Looks like he's running a very, very loose car. This gives Kokotsky a chance to pass on the short straight up here. Room through there. We've got the flat out section coming up to what is a spoon curve. Unfortunately, braking a little bit too late and has let that place go. But meanwhile, Paul Upham and Pitchler are now engaged in battle, so 8th and 9th. That's Pitchler in front. As I think that maybe put off Upham, and he's got a bit of a tank slapper on. Hopefully he can get it going. But unfortunately that's dropped him down to 9th. So we did see that the car in front, I believe that was Pitchler. Got a little bit of a tank slapper, and I think Paul Upham maybe reacted. So Lons is hanging on to the top two. It does look like there's been a change to the lead meanwhile. So Maddie Shepherd has now pulled out. A lead on Masaryk. Unfortunately we missed that. So Shepherd is showing her pace up front. Last lap time 1:23.9. So it's representative of the practice times that we were seeing before. So she's already pulled out a 1.2 gap, but we'll have to see what tyre strategy is going to come in. I mean, I haven't run enough laps here to know what the tyre life is like. So Shepherd first, Masaryk second. Putting out a little bit of a gap for Lons in third. Looks like we may have lost Kirillov as well. So Kirillov has now dropped down to 5th place. That's Phil Brown in 4th. So whether or not that was a mistake from Kirillov, that's now dropped him behind Phil Brown. So the top 3 are glued together, and this is 4th and 5th. With 6th place Talviti not far behind. He's catching. You can see his quarry ahead. And then we have 7th of Martikainen. And then Pitchler in 8th. So is Masaryk suffering from going too quick, too early Lons is now coming into play. Lons currently second in the championship. Masaryk currently in third in the championship. So they are very close together. Lons does need to put out more points ahead of Masaryk. So the lead is now 2.2 seconds. But if we look back to Kirillov chasing Phil Brown within a second, coming up to one of the fastest sections of the circuit. Is he gaining anything? He's gaining a small amount, but not an awful lot. Looks like there may be a little bit of aero wash depending on how close you get, but he's gaining up to this section here, up to 2.3. So it seems he's better coming through this section. He's able to keep a tighter line. So we just need to stay under the rear wing, so 0.2 of a second. Phil Brown doesn't feel the need to go too defensive, so you've got to be much closer than that. Coming up to that final section of the course as we switch on board. You don't want to go that side of the Arco. Looks like he got it all wrong in that final section, so our championship leader is not having the greatest of races this time out. He had such pace at the last round at Lake Garnet, basically lapped the field, but this time is providing a bit more of a challenge. So with 47 minutes, just over 47 minutes to go, Shepard leads, Masaryk second, Lons is in third, Phil Brown fourth, Kirillov fifth, Talviti sixth, Martikainen in the seventh, Pitchler in eighth, Upham in ninth, Kokotsky in the 10th, and Lackinen is our last of our... I believe Lakkinen's actually in the pits, so I don't know whether that's going to be a retirement or whether that's pitting for damage, because we did see a spin from Lackinen. But meanwhile, Talviti is still trying to chase. Now that Kirillov had that little spin, he is now closer. Talviti can actually see who he's chasing, isn't it? 1.4 seconds behind. So that gap at the front is staying very, very stable. 2 seconds. Talviti putting in lap times of 1:24.8. There's the leaders, I think, on a 1:23. So 1:23.5 for Masaryk. So over a full second faster than the cars behind. So the top three have pulled out a significant gap on the rest of the field. Just like, unfortunately, we've lost Phil Brown. Phil Brown was running in 5th place, it seems. So the first of our lapped cars, Kirillov gets past. So now the road is clear for Kirillov. Now up to 4th. Unfortunately, Phil Brown, I think, is disconnected. So Kirillov has been given a gift. So what looks like teammates behind. So that's a lap car in front of Talviti. Unfortunately, caught him at the wrong place there, but led him through as quickly as possible. That's Kokotsky, our newcomer, putting the laps in. So Talviti has to close up that gap all over again. So meanwhile, Shepard out in the lead. The gap's now up to just under 3 seconds. Last lap time 1:23.2, so a very, very quick pace. 45 minutes to go. And there's usually a big flurry of action at the start of the race, and then it calms down near the middle. And then it picks up near the end. We had some very close finishes at Lake Garnet last time out. So we'll probably set for some grandstand finishes like we did. So Masaryk coming up the back straight over the hump. And through up to the Gulch. And up the bridge turn. Lons is not too far behind, but you can see that Masaryk is disappearing over the hill in 2.5 seconds. So it looks like, as it stands, Lons is probably going to be the championship leader when we leave. I'm just doing some quick maths in my head. So remember, it's 25 points for first, 18 for second, and 15 for third. So you see that Masaryk is just disappearing past that hill. There's Martikainen, currently in 6th place. It's quite far behind Tauviti, so the gaps are opening up a bit between some of these groups of cars. And then we have Pichler in 7th. So it does look like that maybe setup is playing a part in whether you can follow closely. Some drivers are able to, and other drivers are having a lot of trouble following the car ahead. So Masaryk in 2nd. Lons coming up the hill for 3rd. And then we have Kirilov just coming into that section in 4th. Now VT has now dropped down a couple of other 2 more seconds, so whether or not that was a mistake. Dropped 1 or 2 seconds further behind Kirilov, just going through the foreground. The line, you can hear the reverberation of the engine. See if there's a slight lift. Car probably gets very, very loose coming through that what would be turn 1, and when we go into the S's section, maybe that inside wheel as close to the curb as you can. Look at that, Paul Upham unfortunately has come to grief. It looks like we may have lost. That was Lackinen that was sitting in the pit, so I think Lackinen has called it a day. Paul Upham is having a dreadful race. He got a second chance with the race being restarted, but unfortunately hasn't made the most of it. But he's currently sitting in 8th place at this point. So Shepherd out in the lead by just over 2 seconds. 41 minutes to go. And the gap is pretty stable between Shepherd and Masaryk. He's keeping her in his sights. And then further back it's Lons. So Lons is dropping away, it seems, only able to get into the low 124s. So currently Lons in the championship with 56 points, would only get 15 points out of this. So it looks like the championship is going to close up quite considerably. And slight mistakes from Kirilov has now dropped him back. Now, when I did mention to the drivers about pit strategy, there were a couple of people that said, yeah, I basically did the whole race on a set of tyres. So whether or not there's going to be drivers that are going to do that today. So you can see Tauviti just coming into the background there. It's going to catch up all over again. So this may be one of the battles of the race that goes all the way down to the wire between Kirilov and Tauviti. drop a bit further back to Martikainen. Looks like this car is running very, very loose. I do wonder whether these drivers are maybe clattered an Armco somewhere and are dealing with maybe some bent steering. That is a lapped car ahead. Martikainen is quite far behind. And then we have Pichler a further 17 seconds down the road. So I did read that this track is considered, so it doesn't have technically any straights on it. All of the faster parts of the circuit. Who is that? That is Shepherd. Is that Shepherd? That's Shepherd making a mistake. That's unfortunate. She was leading by 2.5 seconds. And it's now got to catch up all over again. So with 38 minutes to go, that's not a tyre wear issue. Maybe just a lack of concentration. Can happen when you're out on the lead and you've got nothing to pace yourself against. So top three have now changed. Well, in fact, the top two have changed. Maddie Shepherd currently fourth in the championship. This would be a good result. But Lons, no matter who drops off the circuit, still remains in third. Kirilov 10 seconds behind. And Talviti 5 seconds behind. And over the brow of the hill. It's pity we can't see too much telemetry. I would be interested to know whether there's a lift over the top of that hill. With the default setup I was using, I didn't lift whatsoever, so it's all dependent on kind of wing settings drivers are using. So Masaryk now leads. Let's get an overview of the circuit. So coming through turn 1 from the helicopter view, coming up through the next section, what will be the S's. And then you've got to get a good exit on this section here, because you can't get your foot down through this flat out section. So you see what I mean about it, there not really being any straights at all. And we saw that Masaryk didn't really lift, stayed in fourth gear, and continued up to this what I call a spoon curve. It was very easy to wash wide up here, but you gotta keep on the circuit because you need as best exit as possible. This is the fastest part of the circuit, coming up to the last sector of the lap. So a quick right and left through what's known as the gulch, and then under the bridge for the bridge turn. So keeping a quite stable line, doesn't look like there's too many problems, but actually pulled out a 4-second gap, and then up to what could be called a hairpin, I suppose. But it's very easy to get wrong, and then coming across the line to start another lap. So Maddie Shepherd, maybe she's falling into the clutches of Lons behind. Lons is only just under 2 seconds behind Shepherd. So Lons now has something to chase. Still languishing in the 124 range. Like the leaders are in the 124s. Kirilov's, it's the mistakes that have dropped him back, but he's running on the race pace. 124.4 was his last lap. He's now a further 10 seconds down the road from the car in front. And so I wonder whether dirty air for some of these drivers has affected how they drive behind other cars. Viti has dropped away a little, 6 seconds. So finding it very difficult to stay consistent. Just over 34 minutes to go, so nearly at half distance. And unfortunately, Martikainen, I'm not sure where he is. Whereabouts is he? How did he get over there? Interesting. Maybe forgot where he was on the circuit there. I saw the looks like his car is very, very loose. So whether or not that's damage or just set up, I saw his marker on the map just come to a complete stop. And I wondered what was going on there. Off picking apples in the trees, I think. So Masaryk coming up to lap what I think is Paul Upham. Currently in 8th place, so that's Upham. Masaryk the leader. So he's going to catch him at a very awkward place at the end of the lap. Don't think that's going to slow him down an awful lot. So hopefully Upham sees him coming out in the final corner. Should be able to let him pass on the straight, I believe. So that's Shepherd locking up some tyres into the last turn. There's a lot of rubber being laid down in that last turn. That seems to be a very common place that drivers are locking up. I'm not sure that it's going to do the tyres any good. 3.6 seconds. It does look like the Masaryk has got ahead of Upham in that first section. Lons is maybe dropping back from Shepherd. It might be the case of that Shepherd is just going faster, but Lons has kept a stable pace. It's 124.3. It's not slow by any means. That's Martikainen taking another trip into the undergrowth there. I'm not sure what he likes about that section of the track, but he seems to be drawn to it like a magnet. So Shepherd and Lons up to the end of the fastest part of the circuit. Up towards the bridge turn. Keeping an eye on the times. And that looks like, is that Paul Upham? Now Paul Upham has decided to have a look at the undergrowth. These trees must be inviting. So Paul Upham's race seems to be going from bad to worse. I think in fact that is Kokotsky that is now passed, or maybe unlapped himself. Oh, that was Viti. In fact, I knew I would get confused. Now Lons has pitted, is the first one to pit, so pitting from 3rd place. Pitting from 3rd place. It's dropped him 1 place down the field. But what are the rest of the drivers going to do? Are they going to pit? So 6th place is quite far down the circuit. And out he comes. Right, we're going to have to keep an eye on that. First of the drivers to pit, and it's nearly exactly around half distance. So this puts Viti up to 4th place, and Kirillov up to 3rd. I believe that's a lap car in front of Kirillov. That's Martikainen in the Renault livery in front. So will Kirillov be coming to the pits this time around? He is. So this should mean that Kirillov should drop behind Lons again. And that, I believe, is Talviti as well. It's a very short pit stop for Kirillov. And out he comes. I believe he's actually going to get out in front of Lons. So that was a very, very quick pit stop. So we see Talviti still in the pits. I believe that's Paul Upham in front. That's Lons just coming past. It's looking like a couple of people are having some problems with pitting here. Finally coming out the pits. So this is not going to drop Talviti down. He's lost a lot of time. As we join Masaryk coming into the pits, so we are doing a one stop, and it looks like Shepherd is just behind as well. So Shepherd pitting in exact same time. Shepherd is able to get out in front. So that was a disastrous pit stop for Masaryk. Shepherd was able to make her pit stop and come out in front. It looks like there might be some pit stop difficulties. Maybe people not stopping on their marks and it not registering correctly. So, change of leader. Shepherd now goes back into the lead, with Masaryk now having to follow in second. This is Kirillov coming back into the pits. Maybe he didn't get enough fuel in last time. So all that time he gained before, he needs to come back in this time. So Lons does in fact go back to third place. So the only change has been for the lead. So between Shepherd and Masaryk, 3.3 seconds. So the lap car ahead of Shepherd near the end of the lap. So he should stay to one side. He looks like he's having a real hard job on acceleration. Oh, it's very, very loose. So Shepherd in first, Masaryk in second. 4 seconds behind. Is this Masaryk coming into the pits again? What is going on with these pit stops? So Masaryk coming into the pits again. Is it because they're not getting enough fuel? I don't know whether he's not going to drop down to third place. This is Lons coming through the final corner. This is very interesting. This has spiced this race up a little. As you see Pitchler in the background doing what I think is maybe another pit stop. I'm spotting from my charts as well. Everyone is running soft tyres apart from Martikainen. That's probably why Martikainen is having a really tough job keeping it on the circuit. He's the only driver with hard tyres. It's a car off the circuit. I think that's Martikainen again. In fact, it is. Martikainen is having a real hard job through the faster turns. And down to 7th place. So, Shepherd out in the lead by 19 seconds. So no such pit stop problems for Maddie Shepherd. So with all the bad luck, I don't want to jinx her this time around. With all the bad luck of the last 2 rounds, looks like luck is in her favour. So a number of strategies playing out this time around, whether fuel is enabled, which would mean that people are taking on different amounts of fuel. You can see from the list everyone is on the soft tyres, so So a quick change of boots and out they go again. But that's if Shepherd does not stop again, it looks like 24 minutes to go. She can drop around about 0.8 of a second of... I did jinx it, didn't I? I did jinx it. I did jinx it. Hopefully there's no damage on the car. As you see, Masaryk just coming through the bridge section here. So the lead has now been cut to 10 seconds. And Lon's just coming into the bridge section. So service resumed with Lon's in third and Kirilov still in fourth. So Kirilov had some of those pit stop problems. Got to come in twice, as did Talviti. So Talviti was in the running for fourth place until those problems. We do have a battle ahead for sixth place, I believe. So Marta Kainen and Philip Pichler. Battle resumed. So 6th and 7th. Marta Kainen coming over the hill. That was an ingenious place to pass. I think caught Pichler unaware. But very interesting considering Marta Kainen is on hard tyres. But I did say at the start of this broadcast that this car is a confidence car, and when you get the confidence in it, it does stick to the floor. So I believe Marta Kainen, after his visits to the trees, has finally found a way to drive this car, get it to stick to the ground. But he does have the lapping car of Talviti just behind. So it will be some good points if Marta Kainen can stick in 6th place. Talviti with a lot of time to make up. Now the lead is now risen to about 11-12 seconds. So, as I said, Shepherd doesn't need to put in the 23 lap times. Can just drop maybe half a second a lap to Masaryk and she'll still win this one. But as we saw last time at Lake Garnet, there was a last dash at the flag. I believe there was a couple of cars that were separated by under a second. Masaryk coming through these turns. 124 range. Unfortunately, I think we've all those nice things they're saying about Marta Kainen. Unfortunately, he's disconnected, so it's going to drop him down the order. That's unfortunate. So a big gap. Lon's in third. So 20 seconds up to second place Masaryk. But look who's closing up. It's Kirilov, and he's 6 seconds behind. So this looks like it's one of the closest battles on track at the moment. Let's go on board with Kirilov for a little while, see how he handles the circuit. So 123.9 last time out. So through this flat out section after the S's, up to 5th gear. Slight lift, no downshift at all. And brake hard for this spoon curve down at the bottom, so as close as you can to the curb without hitting it. You don't want to head off into the undergrowth there. Now over the hump. See that car just disappearing ahead. That is That's the car we're chasing, that's third place. So taking a lot of speed through that right and left. And down to third gear for that final bridge turn. So down to second gear. Getting the power down and over the line. So you don't want to get confused with where the pit lane starts, because if you accidentally miss your turn-in point, you're going over that ramp there. So the lead now down to 9-10 seconds. So that gap is fluctuating between 9 and 10 seconds. So the full length of the straight is the time for the lead. So a low 23, so Masaryk isn't stepping off the gas just yet. I know there's only 18 minutes to go, but never give up, I think is the word, or the phrase rather. Lons are still putting in low 124 lap times. As you can hear in the background, this is Kirilov not far behind. So Kirilov has to try and find how he's going to close up 4 seconds or so. He is putting in faster lap times, but is it going to be the case of like Lake Garnet, where someone was putting in faster lap times at the end of the race, but just didn't quite have enough time? The clock run out just before he was able to pass. We'll have to see. We'll keep an eye on that gap. Unfortunately, with the pit stop problems, it's dropped Talviti further behind, but not too far behind, about 13-14 seconds. But not able to put in the 123 lap times like the cars ahead, unfortunately. And we drop back to Pichler, who seemed to capitalise on people having mistakes ahead. So did join briefly having the battle with Martikainen. Unfortunately, Martikainen did disconnect. I'm unsure whether that was a disconnection because of internet problems or whether Martikainen had an accident which took him out of the race. But if we look back at Mitchell Kukotsky, a little bit off the pace, but he's keeping it on the road in 7th place. So not too bad for the first race of the series. It's always difficult joining halfway through. We have a lot of drivers that are kind of completely warmed up, have their setups dialed in, and then you join in and you feel a bit lost, but let's keep it on the road. A good finish, that should be fine. So, Early Shepherd just coming through the final corner. Dropping a little bit of lap time that last time around. But the gap doesn't look like it's changing an awful lot, so it's around the 10-second mark. 15 minutes to go. So 15 minutes. So there's Masaryk. I believe that's a lap car ahead. I don't know if that's passing. It's not the right not the right blue and white car. It's that blue and white car. It's Kokotsky that Masaryk is coming up to lap. So over the fastest part of the circuit. Kokotsky moves over to the inside. And lets Masaryk through. It's sometimes a little worrying when a driver will pull off to one side out of the blue. You're not really expecting it, but no harm done. So we are missing a few drivers today. Some of our regulars. Ed Jones is normally racing with us along with Marius Labioda. Hopefully they will join us for subsequent rounds. So as I say, we have 2 more rounds after this, so the championship is going to get awfully close for them for the last 2 rounds, and they're both 1960s circuits, so a lot like this, a lot of flat out corners. So we're going to be going to Le Mans Bugatti on the 29th of May, and then Zolder 1967 on for our last round on the 12th of June. So that should be similar fast circuits like this, so I look forward to that. So Kirillov still trying to cut into that. That's Lons just coming through the foreground. And it looks a lot more than just 5 seconds, but so 123.7. Lons still in the 124 range, so I don't know whether Kirillov is actually going to be able to close enough in the last 12 minutes. You can see him in the background there. So maybe Lons is just pacing himself to the end. I'd be interested to know what the problems with the pit stops were, because in fact that kind of ruined the battle for the lead, and for second and third. It meant that some of the drivers had to pit 2 or 3 times to even get some tyres on. So through the final corner, and this is Talviti in 5th, just coming up to the final corner. So no trouble from behind, and no trouble in front too. 14 seconds or so. It's a very wide line into turn 1. And it does look like on my screen, I don't know how it looks for everybody else, but whenever this car seems to go through some of the slower turns, it looks like there's a little bit of a red underneath the car, as if it's got like some LEDs underneath the car, but that's like this graphical glitch that I'm seeing on my screen, and it might not be on yours, I'm not too sure. And we have Pichler coming up in 6th place. Must be a very, very lonely race for Pichler. We've seen a couple of people just can't seem to find the pace in this car. 126.2 was his last lap, so suffering a little. We did see him come into the pit, so he's definitely changed tyres. So with just over 10 minutes to go, Shepherd still leads. Looking in the background there, that looks like a red and white car. I was expecting a yellow one, but it's not the one I was expecting. So I believe it's the full length straight. Yep. So that's not the car we want. It's this one. That's 2nd place. That's Masaryk. Well, I think maybe coming up to lap Paul Upham in 8th. So that gap has stayed pretty stable. That, I mean, they're still in the 123s, but it looks like they're both in the 123s. So, right, this is the battle we're looking for. So Lons, putting in very, very consistent lap times. I don't think that lap time has really changed from a low 124 for the last few laps. So he's nothing but consistent. Putting in very consistent lap times, as that's someone coming in. That's Kokotsky coming in the pits. So the gap again has come down to about 4 seconds. 123.6. So Kirilov may run out of laps here. You can see the car ahead. So it looks like he's closing in by about half a second a lap. So if we think about it in terms of how much we've got to go. Six or 7 laps it's going to take him to actually catch, and I think he's going to run out of time because there's only 8 minutes left in the race, so it depends when the leader crosses the line. So he may be right on the rear end of Lons as we come into the final lap, if I've done my arithmetic in my head correctly. I may or may not have. It's hard enough doing maths in my head when I'm racing, but it seems to be getting closer and closer and closer, but it may just be running out of laps. So Lons coming through turn 1. We might be able to see Kirilov not quite coming into the picture. So there he is, catching all the time. So the lead has stayed around about the same kind of distance. About 7 or 8 seconds, with 7 minutes to go. So unless Masaryk has got anything left, or has he run out of tyre rubber, we'll have to see. It has been a little different this time around. Drivers having to figure out what they were going to do for the formation lap. Because obviously all of the rounds so far have been standing starts. It did seem like the top 2 did blast away from the field quite quickly, which meant the field got a bit spaced out. So I don't know whether the stewards will look at that. Wow, that was... yeah. Full opposite lock coming through that corner, so... slowing down at all. And we'll throw it away with only just over 6 minutes to go. You don't really want to get the wheels out of line with these cars. You just want them to stick to the road. If we look at Onboard, you can normally tell whether the tyres are looking rather horrible or not, but from this view they look pretty good. So dropping lap down to 124.7 just from a couple of slides. It does look like the car is hitting the floor as well. In fact, that might be just exhaust flames, I'm not too sure. So, dropping back to Kirilov. So Kirilov now has what looks like his teammate ahead, but that is Paul Upham in 8th. So Upham is keeping completely out of the way, doesn't want to get involved. So the gap now down to 3 seconds, but as I say, I think he's closing, but just not quick enough. It will depend whether we get an extra lap, depending on what the leader, or when the leader goes across the line. So 123.9. Maybe the lap time is going away a little, but he did have to pass a lap car on this lap. So 2.6 seconds on this part of the track. So that's Lons in the foreground. So we've now got half a straight. It's normally easier to be the to not be the carrot, as it were. So Lons is the carrot. Kirillov is the donkey. I'm not too sure. Maybe I've got my metaphors mixed up. Pushing slightly hard in that final corner. If we look at Lons coming across the line. Now Lons has maybe given himself a little bit of the hurry up now. Maybe that's why the gap has decided to not close as fast as it was. So maybe Lons was actually having something in reserve and leaving the last couple of laps to then sprint to the finish. So 3.5 minutes to go. Shepard still leads, Mazurek still second. But we're concentrating on this closing battle for third and fourth. So that is Lons, and then we have Kirillov just behind. 2.5 seconds at this part of the lap. So again, we're going to have a grandstand finish. I'm going to keep an eye on where the leader is. So the leader's just come across the line now at 3 minutes to go. So we may get 2 more laps in, I think, depending on whether Shepard does slow down. Maybe 3 laps in the end, I think. Because I think Shepard might cross the line with about a few seconds to go. I've done the calculations in my head correctly. So through across the line, 2 minutes 30. Keeping an eye on that track map where the leader is. So flat out through that section. Down third gear. Try and get on the throttle as early as possible to launch it up this. It's going to say straight, but it's not straight, it's a flat out section. Slight lift, you don't want to go too wide. This section of the track seems to have caused a lot of problems for a few people with all these black lines that have been left. Up onto what's called the back straight. Well, I refer to it as the back straight over the hump. So the leader is crossing the line at 1 minute 39. So 2 laps to go. Because I don't believe that Shepard will want to drop that 10 seconds. Gap is now down to 2 seconds for the battle for third and fourth. 2 laps to go. So Lons coming through. I believe that is Upham coming into the pits. A little bit of a shock there. I thought that was Kirillov having to pit, and that would mean that this battle would be over. So there was a little flurry of lap times in the 123s, but Lons has now dropped back to his normal pace of 124. So this is going to be very, very close towards the end. So I'm looking at the leader as well. So leader is just going through the final few turns here with 30 seconds to go. I don't believe she will slow down to make others do less of a lap. 20 seconds. Right. 1 more lap. Lons and Kirillov have 1 more lap after this. It does look like Kirillov does have a little too much to find. He's got 2 seconds to catch up in 1 lap. The leader is currently on their final lap. And Lons and Kirilov are just about to cross the line to start their final lap. So I'll keep an eye on that gap. 2.4 seconds as Maddie Shepherd's coming up the back straight for what will be a dominant victory after all the problems for all the other drivers and having multiple restarts and having to do a formation lap at the start of the race. Maddie Shepherd managed to reduce all the mistakes and get a fresh start, and this will be her first victory of the series. So this will be 25 points for Maddie Shepherd as she comes to cross the line. So 25 points for Maddie Shepherd. Masaryk is coming up to the final turn to take a well-earned second place. That will be 18 points for Masaryk. And the battle still rages on for third and fourth, but it looks like Kirilov is not going to get there, so Lons in the end comes home with 15 points. And Kirilov is going to have to settle for fourth. And that is 12 points, so we'll have to total up the points a little bit. Let's see where people get to. So well earned, I believe. I imagine there's some very sweaty drivers after this race. Tony Talviti coming home in 5th place. So a good drive from Tony. Good drive from Tony. So 5th place will be, if I've done my maths correctly, that's just 10 points. It seems not an awful lot of points for the amount of effort that these drivers put in. And in, I believe in 6th place, it will be Philip Pichler. I'll get confirmation in a minute about the finishing order. So that will be 8 points. And it does seem that Paul Upham had to pit near the end. I don't know whether that meant that he was retiring or whether or not... well, I'll have to wait and see for the final points. But looking at the championship points, I can actually see what might be a provisional. Now, this is not including... points for pole and fastest lap. So you get 1 point for fastest lap, and you get 1 point for pole. I can't actually remember who was on pole. I think it was actually Masaryk that was on pole. But I'm going to have to go wait and see who got the fastest lap. Doesn't change an awful lot. So provisional results as they stand are Kirilov in first with 72 points. Lons in second with 71 points. So with 2 rounds to go, this championship is closing up quite significantly. In third is Michael Masaryk with 65 points. I'm just going to grab a picture of the results there so I can run down the order. Open that file, there we go. Trying to grab the... there we go, that's what I want. So... okay, so Lackinen will be 11th. Will be out of the points. Okay, so points are only going to 10th place. Right, so... where was I up to? So, 65 points for Michael Masaryk in third. 65 points. Shepherd with that win is now on 54 points, so dramatically come up the order. And then in 5th place is Phil Brown with 25 points, so pretty much the top 4 are running away with this. So we have 3 separate winners for this championship in the first 4 rounds. The only driver with 2 wins is Kirill Kirillov. So whether or not will there be any other winners? So Lons and Masaryk have been nothing if but consistent. Masaryk has finished on the podium in 2nd place 3 times, and Lons has finished on the podium 4 times, 3 third places and 1 win. So what do we have coming up at Sim Racing Online? We have many championships that we're doing at the moment. I'll run down very, very briefly. So we do run Assetto Corsa, R-Factor 2, Automobilista 2, Le Mans Ultimate and Project Cars 2. So the next things that are going to appear for Sim Racing Online is May 18th, so this Sunday. It will be the P2 and the GTE Asian Championship. So that will be broadcast on this channel. And then on May 19th will be the Dallara Open Wheel Challenge. That's with Automobilista 2. And then May 24th will be the Le Mans Ultimate GT3 Masterclass. So that's May 24th. Then we got Project Cars 2, May 27th, the Ferrari 488 Challenge. And then I step back into the cockpit myself for June 8th, because we'll be coming back to R-Factor 2 for the Formula Renault 1975 Championship. So join me on Twitch on Woody TV for that. And there will be a new series starting, and sign-ups are already happening for the historic GT 1970s Championship on June 26th. So head to simracingonline.co.uk. We'll be racing at places like Dijon, Salzburg, Ennepegusa, Monza, Fuji and Paul Ricard, and you'll be in cars like the Porsche 911, the Corvette Stingray, the BMW 3.5. So join us for that, simracingonline.co.uk. I've been your host, Neil Wood. This has been the Formula 79 Championship. Join us for more action at the weekend. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.